Brilliant. Well, hello, fellow online presenters, and we have a guest today. Abby, hello. Welcome to our meeting. Meeting today is the 5th of December 2022, and I'm your Toastmaster of the evening. I'm Andrei Smolenko, and the theme for the evening is humor, and more humor. Of course, the reason I choose this theme because the humor is quite important for our everyday life. From time to time, we can just forget how being funny or make people funny in a good sense is important. For example, my son recently reminded me about the importance of being funny. He said, look, Dad, what do you call a Mexican man who lost his car? I said, son, I have no idea. Carlos. My son is 10, and one of his jokes that he's practicing is like that. At the same time, we are advanced club, and of course, the sense of humor has got to be advanced as well. So I took a liberty to look at the public profiles of some of our members on Facebook, and what I found. The thing I found, I think, is about Rosina Duncanson, one of our members. She's not here. However, apparently she's left-handed, and people congratulate her with Happy Left-Handers Day. And if you didn't have enough, then look at the Jim Barber public profile. One of his posts on Facebook is an excellent joke about Christmas and nuts. I'm not going to read it all what says in here, but you can get the sense of Mr. Barber jokes. And then again, we're going to the world champion of public speaking is Angela Heath, and her sense of humor on Facebook, well, it was about not Christmas, but the past events. And this is why you would never, ever let dads to do trick-or-treating with their children. And if you didn't have enough, I invite you to have a look at David Carr sense of humor. About pessimist and optimist glass. Pessimists see the mug half empty, but optimists are already brewing another cup. Well, as you can see, we're really advanced club. And what I would like to do to run this meeting as smooth with as much sense of humor as we can. So I'm not going to do it by myself, of course. I have an army of well-trained people who are going to help me to do that. Before I introduce that little army, I would like to introduce Johnny Laidlaw, one of our members. She's a distinguished Toastmaster who will be doing her tech tip speech. A tech tip speech is unique for our club. It's where the speaker, within a short period of time, normally is 3 to 5 minutes, will share with us her wealth of knowledge about a particular area she's specializing on, whether it's technical tips or leadership. So let's welcome Johnny Laidlaw with her tech tip presentation.
Hello, everyone. Whenever you're on Zoom, doesn't it get so annoying when you lose the information that happens to be in your chat? Or if you're Zoom master and you have to be watching everyone on the participant screen? Have you ever wondered how we keep that information? Well, very simply put, you have the option in the view area to actually come out a full screen. Now, what do? I make sure that my chat is always attached. That way, once you go to view, and you go to exit full screen, you will always end right back with your participant screen and chat. Now, if you have a lot of functioning to do, you can minimize based on exactly what it is that you need to do. You also have the option where you can pop the screen out. So this gives me the chance to actually teach you how to merge it back to your chat window. Overall, I hope this tip helps for the future in case for any reason you happen to find yourself in full screen and you actually back to your chat information.
Johnny, I think, is it me?
I said back to you, our Toastmaster of the evening. I believe my internet was being so wonderful. It too is feeling the Christmas spirit.
Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you very much, Johnny. I love your sense of humor, nice and smooth. I can see you've been practicing for quite a while now. Thank you. It was Johnny Laidlaw with her tech tip for the day. Now, we're moving on to the really interesting parts of the evening where I will introduce the army, the little army of people who are going to help me to run this meeting with a little bit of sense of humor, more precise and according to the time. And the first lady I'm going to call to the virtual stage is Sarah Idahan, our timer. Sarah, please explain your role, what is involved in a short speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster Andre. I will be timer, and as timer, I will be timing all of the speeches, whether it be the prepared speeches, evaluations, as well as table topics. For prepared speeches, I will be timing 5 to 7 minutes, 5 minutes at green, 6 minutes at yellow, and 7 minutes at red. For the table topics, be 1.5 minutes. So for those, it would be 1 minute at green, 1.5 at yellow, and red 2 minutes. For the evaluations, it'd be 3 minutes, and it would be green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2.5 minutes, red at 3 minutes. And what you will see on my screen, we will go from green to yellow to red. Back to you, Toastmaster Andre.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And it's really helpful that you outline the colors behind your back. I suggest for the members who are watching in the gallery view, you can drag Sarah, the timer, onto the top left corner, especially for the speakers. That will be much easier for you to keep a time track on your speech. So you can just nicely drag her. This is exactly what I'm going to do right now, top left corner. And we moving on to the next helper with a very, very important role is our R counter, Isabel Kaduri. Isabel, please introduce your role.
Thank you. The purpose of the R counter is to note filler sounds or crutch words used by anyone who speaks during the meeting. Filler words may be and the example of crutch words are so, and, while, but, like, and you know. During the evaluation portion of the meeting, I will report my observation when called upon. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Isabel, and precise and to the point. And again, I would love to remind the army of helpers, if you could squeeze just a little bit of humor, that would be excellent. It's another challenge for you. We'll see if you're up for it. The next very important person for the meeting is our grammarian, Kim Limin. Kim, please explain your role.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, Andre. Yes, as Andre mentioned, I am your grammarian for tonight. So I'll be looking out for uses of the theme and the word of the day And the word of the day today is apprehension. As you can see from all these blue guys behind me, they are apprehensive. And then the theme of the day is humor. So I'll be looking for uses of both. And the word apprehension is a noun, and it means fearful expectation or anticipation, or painful expectation. Or the third definition is the cognitive condition of someone who understands. So I will also be looking for just colorful uses of the English language during the course of the meeting. So thank you so much, and back to you, Andre.
Thank you very much, Kim. We are in safe hands, I can tell. The next helper that I'm going to introduce with very, very important role, kind of unique for our club as well, is Mr. Watcher, Jim Barber. Please explain your role in a short few words.
With the greatest pleasure, Mr. Toastmaster. As the watcher this evening, well, we just heard that Kim is going to be the grammarian. Basically, I'm going to be the visual grammarian. I'm going to be watching everybody this evening throughout the meeting, making sure that their visual presence remains good. I will be watching for lighting. I'll be watching for backgrounds. I'll be making sure that people don't slouch and exit the screen and that sort of thing. So basically, as I say, I'm going to be keeping an eye on everybody and making sure that everybody looks good. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watcher. I'm really looking forward to your watching. And then next helper who is going to help me to run this meeting is our chat monitor, Lou Brown. Lou, please explain your role and please add a little bit or a lot of humor.
I will try my best, Mr. Toastmaster. I am not a funny person in the least, but I will try. Much like our watcher, the chat monitor is a unique to an online environment, but very odd role. It's odd because we call it the chat monitor. Now, if you've ever looked up the word chat in the dictionary, it is to talk in a friendly or informal way. I am not looking to observe all of you talking. I am actually referring to the chat box at the bottom of the screen. That's the second reason it's odd, because that's really a text box, not a chat box. You don't go in there and record what you're writing. You, in a audio file, you go in there and write it out. It's also odd because we call it chat monitor, and we all know in Toastmasters, with every role, we just slam the word master at the end of the role. So it really should be text master, not chat monitor. I'll provide a report at the end of the meeting to show or report all of the interesting things in the chat box. All of you chatty Kathys and chatty Kevins, help me out so I can have a great report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Oh, thank you very much, Lou. Chat master, really interesting suggestion. Yes, chat master, why not? Thanks. And that next person I'm going to introduce with a very, very important role again for our club, who is going to be doing her role in an old-fashioned way. So old-fashioned way, lady, is Deborah Carr. Please explain your role as a vote counter.
Hi, everyone. Tonight, as your vote, let's start all over. Hi, everyone. As your vote counter this evening, I am going to do things the old way. With pen and paper on my end, I promise you there'll be no chads missing. All the vote boxes will be in place. There will be no need to pre-vote. And I promise that every vote will be counted. So just send them to me when it's time. If you're in the USA, you got this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. So at the end of our our meeting will be scheduled a few different parts. The first part is prepared speeches. At the end of the prepared speeches, we have two speakers for today, by the way. At the end of it, we'll hear the timer's report, and then if timer says go ahead, speaker is qualified for voting, then you will be able to send your votes to Deborah Carr, our vote counter. Then we will move on to another part of the meeting. The middle bit, one of my favorites, is table topics. And then table topics master will introduce what it's all about. Then we will go to not least favorite parts of our meeting is evaluations. And we will wrap up with the general evaluator report and pass it back on to our club president. In simple, in a nutshell, this is what's going to happen today, hopefully with a little bit of humor in it. The next part of our meeting is prepared speeches. And the first speaker who I'm going to call to this virtual stage is Antoinette Trim. Antoinette Trim, in her introduction, wrote, "Having been a member of Toastmasters, I'm glad that I'm making progress in my speech delivery. Thanks to Toastmasters, which gives me countless opportunities to prepare and present speeches, I'm also getting almost addicted to pathways as the lessons are very detailed. In addition, I do enjoy being a member of Online Presenters as it allows me to review the videos. No other club that I'm in does that." Antoinette Trim will be speaking from Visionary Communication Level 2, Learning Your Style, Understanding Your Communication Style, and her speech entitled, "What is Your Communication Style?" Antoinette Trim.
Good evening, Toastmaster of the day, and of course, my fellow Toastmasters. Today, I would like to ask all of you a question. And that question is, what is your communication style? But before you answer, you may wish to find out what are some of the styles out there. So I decided to do my own research via Alvernia University, which says that there are 4 styles. You have the passive communicators. They fail to express emotions. The aggressive ones, they speak loudly and in a demanding voice. For example, "It's all your fault." There is also the passive aggressive, which appear to be cooperative, but silently do the opposite. And of course, the assertive, they seem to have a connotation of positivity. I found myself straying a bit. So I decided to get back in the framework which Toastmasters suggested about communication styles. And do you know that Toastmasters also has 4 communication styles? I decided to put it into an acronym, DIAS. Now, my second name is Diane, so all I needed to do is just to remove the N and input the S. The communication styles for Toastmasters are D for direct. It seems to be focused, result-oriented, and ambitious. However, to others, they are strong-willed and demanding. Next, you have I for initiating. They're sociable, enthusiastic, and fun-loving. And to others, they're self-assured and innovating. The other one, the A, which is analytical, they're logical, precise, and exact. And to others, they seem to be perfectionist and self-reliant. Lastly, the supportive type. They are calm, steady, and approachable, and to others, dependable and loyal. Now, I can do all 4 styles in a spell of 5 minutes. Under the direct style, I could walk into the workplace and tell my supervisors that I would like to have the timesheets because I need to update the information on the human resource information system software. There's no negotiation with that. Not long after having a seat on my desk, the phone will ring. And I would need to answer that phone within 2 rings. Good morning, Online Presenters Bank. And how can I help you? Sounds sociable there, don't you think? Like I'm having a busy morning. Customer may walk in querying about the charges that OP Bank offers. And I would need to put on my analytical hat to let him know that those charges are for the good service that Online Presenters Bank offers. Now, if I were to use the direct style, OP Bank will certainly lose a customer. Not long after completing my analytical communication style, a coworker would approach me at my desk and say, Antoinette, I have a problem. And at the end of the conversation, they would mention, Anto, thanks for listening. And I will say to them, no problem, I understand. You see my supportive style there. Again, I ask the question, what is your communication style? I recently completed the assessment that Toastmasters said to do or suggested, and I got the following gradings. Direct was graded a 4, initiating a 2, analytical a 4, and supporting a 5. And what that suggested to me is that I needed to work on my communication style, as this must be a more self-assured at my workplace. In other words, I need to work to be more self-assured, that people will realize that Antoinette should be more self-assured of herself or about herself. The message today, however, you don't have any single communication style. We all have 4 styles. It's just a matter of stating which style suits the particular situation, with the understanding that will make you a competent communicator. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
What a brilliant speech, Antoinette. Oh, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed. What's my communication style? That's the question I'm going to ask as well. Thank you. And the second speaker for today is David Carr. David was originally on the agenda for tip of the day, upgraded to a speech at the last minute. It's what we do at the Advanced Club, and it's what David always up for. And note for the timer, David's speech will be 5 to 7 minutes, a standard speech timing. Please note that. And David will be sharing a few details about a Mastodon. Mastodon, a social network that will be new to most of us, although it's not really new. It has, however, been getting increasing attention because of issues with Twitter. About Mastodon, David Carr.
Thank you, Andre. So I thought this would be worth sharing because not so much that it's a speaking topic, but it certainly is a promotion topic. It's a sharing topic that a lot of us are engaged in social media. This is a digital-oriented club. And so some things are changing in the social media world recently, particularly changing related to Twitter. Now, Toastmasters actually tends to be a little bit more Facebook centric, a little bit LinkedIn, but Twitter has certainly been an important medium, particularly for interacting with journalists and political nerds as well, trying to handicap who's ahead, who's behind, who's being wonderful, who's being awful. And there's a little bit of awfulness going around these days, particularly on Twitter since the takeover of Elon Musk. And I'm sorry for those of you who are Tesla fans, but Elon has some interesting issues going on these days. Now, I wrote about this for work. In my day job, I am doing research for a company called SimilarWeb. We try and dig information out of our web metrics data and dangle it in front of journalists. And I have gotten some journalistic uptake on this. With things like this, this is showing the takeoff of a couple of the web domains associated with the Mastodon network. And this is right about where Elon Musk is handed the keys of Twitter and begins talking. He'd been talking for a long time about changes he was going to make, including the return of Donald Trump, although Donald Trump hasn't come back yet because he's got some other stuff going on with his own attempt at creating a social network. But there's definitely a correlation between the interest in this Mastodon network, and this is the surge in people quitting Twitter around the time, again, that Elon Musk took over. And so why would people be leaving Twitter? Well, I mentioned Donald Trump, but it's not just Donald Trump, it's neo-Nazis. So this is actually at the top of my feed on Mastodon. So this looks very much like Twitter, functions a lot like Twitter in terms of being oriented around short posts, often with a image or with a video. And I did post something there saying I was going to be talking about Mastodon at Online Presenters this evening, and you're invited. Well, I didn't get any takers just yet. Now, it's not as mass market as Twitter is, and it's being discovered as something new by a lot of people right now, particularly journalists, and again, people who are politically oriented, fans of democracy, and not necessarily of Nazis, have been moving over to this network and getting established on it. But it's actually been around for a number of years. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting how many, but it's based on a set of web standards where essentially anybody can get a hold of the open source software and they can set up their own Mastodon server. So that's something it's not one central thing, really. And it's actually not necessarily one wild-eyed liberal thing either. It doesn't necessarily have a political orientation as a whole. There is a culture here of moderating content. In fact, just this image talking about the neo-Nazi, this was actually not displayed initially. I had to click past a content warning to display it. And I've changed some of the settings for the sake of this demo because you also find nudity and even pornography on this network. But you can change the settings to say, I don't want to see any of that stuff. So one of the things that is different, though, is this is advertised as distributed, open, community-run social networking. It's not for sale. There is no advertising. And there is actually no algorithm. Algorithm is the computer formula that boosts things up based on their popularity and makes them take off in a viral way, which can actually be sometimes destructive information. information that we don't necessarily as a society want to spread wildly, like white nationalist Nazi information. But because it is set up on this democratic, distributed, open framework, you actually, when you come here, there's not one place to sign up. One of the first things you have to do is choose a server. And so when you come in here somewhere, there's a link that says find a server, and you have to choose. And I think this is actually one of the impediments to growth here, because people are like, oh my gosh, how do I choose? Which one do I sign up for? And it turns out that it doesn't really matter that much, because whichever one you sign up for, it can also share with the rest of the network. Although, depending on the policies and the personality of the person who runs your local server, they may have different policies about what content can be shared, what content will be encouraged or discouraged. And so there is some stuff to learn here, definitely along the way. But I've been enjoying it. It's an opportunity to set up and explore on a new social network. And it's a network where you are not being manipulated by the company, you're not being advertised to, your information is not being siphoned off for commercial purposes. And so if you like the sound of any of that, it may be something that you want to explore. I will post in the chat a link to one of the better guides that I found about how to get started with Mastodon and understand some of the complexities. I mean, once you pick your server, it's really just put in your name and your email address and you sign up and you're off to the races. You can actually import your list of Twitter followers fairly easily. There are a number of utilities set up to facilitate that. I'll post the link in the chat and I encourage you to check it out.
Thank you very much, David. What a great speech on a new social network, Mastodon. I just had a feeling that perhaps David had a bit of commission from Toastmasters who sign up for Mastodon, but of course, no, he would never do that. As a respectable Toastmaster, it's not his style. Right, well, thank you. And now we've just concluded the main parts of the evening, prepared speeches for today. And just to say thanks to David, who jumped in the last minute with his pop-up speech and demonstrated a great skills and knowledge. Then I would like to ask our timer, Sarah, could you please remind us again the timing of the speakers? I know you put them in the charts, but please could you just say it? You're muted, Sarah. No. Okay. Right. So now probably I can see that David Carr speech is 7 minutes 36 seconds, and I think allotted time is 7 minutes 30 seconds for 5 to 7 minute speech. So it looks like David Carr may not qualify. Am I right, Sarah? Right. So I think a little bit prematurely. Let's wait and see what happens next. However, Antoinette Trim is qualified for the votes with her time in 6 minutes and 22 seconds. So shall we vote? Yes, I would say we vote. Deborah Carr, our timer, is accepting your votes. So if you want to vote for Antoinette Trim's speech, please send your votes to Deborah Carr, our vote counter. Thank you for that. Moving along with our humor, and more humor meeting for today. The exciting, one of the favorite parts of the evening personally for me is table topics. Sounds interesting and sounds kind of mesmerizing. then I think I'm pretty much done with talking, and I'm going to pass on this virtual stage into capable hands of our table topics master. Table topics master for the evening is Christine Campbell. Please take it away, Christine.
Thank you. Welcome, Toastmasters, fellow DTMs, and our most welcome guests. We're so glad that you're here. Table topics. It's a humorous day with the humor. And what was interesting, depending on what part of the world you live, humor is spelled differently. So we had it in the theme because Andre is from Ukraine and USA has HUMOR. So I thought that was pretty funny in an interesting way. So anyway, what we're going to do today, we have time for, or how many table topics? Is it 5?
I would say perhaps we start with 4 and then
4. Okay. Okay. So there's going to be apprehension in this because of our theme of the day, humor. Our topics are on that. I don't even know what the questions are. It's a 1 through 87, and whoever I call in is going to call the number, and we're going to find the question together. And they were guaranteed to be humorous. All right, so let's all have some fun. So one thing I'm going to mention is first, our guest. Are you open to being part of the table topics, Evie?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, okay. I love it. I love it. Sign up, sign up, sign up. Okay, so right now, pick a number between 1 and 87.
Ooh. 14.
All right, 14 it is. Here is your question. If you could hang out with any cartoon character, who would you choose and why?
I don't know why I muted myself after answering that question, knowing you were about to ask me a question. Okay, so what cartoon character is the most on top of their game, just the most organized, the most together, has all of their ducks in a row? Let me see. You know, I don't really think Dexter from Dexter's Lab is, but you know, it would be really cool to hang out with him because he's got this secret lab underneath, you know, his parents' house. And he's always doing all these projects, kind of like me. He's always got all these irons in the fire, always got all of these machines, you know, heating up his, you know, territory where he does all his work. And that's kind of me right now. I've got all of these irons in the fire. I'm doing so many projects at once. And I've got so many things I've just gotten done, so many things just coming up. How do you do it? Like, Dexter's a kid. How is he already handling all these projects? You know, he's always got something going on, and he's like 12. Like, I couldn't do that at age 12. So yeah, I'd probably hang out with Dexter, and during the times where the show isn't going on, to see all the work that he definitely puts in behind the scenes to constantly be doing all these projects and not losing it until his blonde sister walks into the room and explodes all of his machines by pressing all the buttons. So yeah, thank you very much. I have no idea how much time.
You did excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you jumping in. Next, we're going to call on Rick. Rick, are you good for a table topic impromptu?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. So what we're going to do, pick a number between 1 and 87.
I'll take 1.
All righty. Your big question is, what breed of dog would you be?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I'm going to answer that question by telling a little story. I had the opportunity to live across the street from a neighbor who had what I would call a mixed breed dog, a good sized dog, indeterminate exactly what specific breed, but definitely leaning towards German Shepherd. I also happened to have a German Shepherd. And we had ditches alongside the road. And here in Michigan, when you get snow, sufficient snow, those ditches would fill up. And it was one of my favorite things to do, was to watch as the two dogs would chase one another through, 6, 7 inches of snow. And one of the dogs always leaped over the ditch. The other one, almost every time, repeatedly, would go face first into the rather deep snow that was present in that ditch. So to answer the question of what kind of dog I would prefer to be, frankly, I want to be the smart dog. Back to you.
Oh, it's a great twist. The smart one. Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, Isabel, are you ready for this?
Okay, let me try.
Okay, so pick a number between 1 and 87.
Okay, 6.
6. Okay. What food does everyone love, but you hate?
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. What food? Let's see. What food does everyone else love, but you hate it?
Oh, I see. Well, I think everybody has their own preference about food. Let me think. When I was younger, I used to be more picky in eating. I remember I really hated onion. It feels like I just hated onion's texture. And whenever I have to bite onion, I feel like onion gonna scream in my mouth. That's how I felt. But onion is really a very healthy food, and it's inexpensive and easy to prepare and provides a lot of nutrition. So my parents always encouraged me to eat onion. And then I went to college. I thought I finally can get away from onion. But it turns out that the college food was so bad. And every time, especially if you end up went to the cafeteria too late and the only food left, a lot of time, often it was just onion. So I had to force myself to eat onion, and I always feel like onion was screaming in my mouth. That's why I hated onion. But things have changed. Actually, eventually I kind of adapted to eat onion. Back to you, Madam Topic Master.
Excellent. I heard if you cut an onion and leave it in the room and you're sick, it helps cure you. I don't know the proof behind that. So, all right, next, I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and have Jim Barber. Jim, I'm going to have you select a number between 1 and 87.
As a Douglas Adams fan, I have to go with 42.
Very good. Let's see what this lucky number gives you. If you could be on a reality TV show, which one would you choose and why?
Wow. Madam Topics Master and my fellow Toastmasters, first I have to admit that I have never seen a reality TV show. I realize that this, says something about me. I don't know if it's positive or negative, but I'm aware of them. I've seen the different ones. I've seen them go by in commercials and that sort of thing, but I've never actually watched one. I guess I'm a little puzzled as to why somebody would want to expose their lives to America or the world on screen. But I don't know, there's no accounting for those. To answer your question though, what reality show would I like to be on? I don't know if this counts as a reality TV show. Does Dancing with the Stars count as a reality TV show? It does. In that case, Dancing with the Stars, because I don't know how to dance. I can dance, But you're talking about humor? No, watching me dance, that is funny. What I would like to do would be to be trained. And I think they do that. They provide you with a coach. They provide you with a dancing partner, knows what they're doing. I would love for somebody to teach me how to dance. I don't know that I would be any good, but I know that I would be very enthusiastic. And I would love to see what I could accomplish if I actually had the training. So that, Madam Topics Master, would be the reality TV show that I would go for. I would love to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Excellent. I think that would be a speaking engagement for you to show us how you came up with that, right? There you go. All right. I'm going to call on Andy Byrne. Andy Byrne, let's get a question for you between 1 and 87. I think you're muted. Is that intentional?
No.
Okay.
76.
Oh, what did you say?
76.
Oh, I love it. Okay, perfect. We're adventuring. Okay, 76. If you were famous, what would you be famous for?
I would be famous for being a Toastmaster, having achieved a DTM or Distinguished Toastmaster, not once, but twice, and working on my third one. And the reason I would say that is because the road to Distinguished Toastmaster, which is plentiful in our club, is actually a challenge. Only 0.5% of people entering Toastmasters ever achieve a Distinguished Toastmaster. So if you look at that as a number of people that go through it and achieve that, it's fewer than those people from high school playing football that make it into the NFL. They have a 1% chance of making it onto the NFL and being drafted. Whereas we who make it to Distinguished Toastmaster have 0.5% chance of doing that when you become started. The key answer to how you succeed is persistence and staying with it long enough to get everything accomplished. And I'm looking for my timer. Who's my timer? I don't see it on my screen.
I am Sarah. You have 1 minute, 10 seconds already.
Okay. I will leave it at that then, because Sarah says I've already gone over the minimum threshold of 1 minute, but that's
Yeah.
back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Excellent. We're going to do one more. Everyone should have that question to yourselves. When you're famous, why are you going to be famous? I mean, that's in your vision board, right? So I'm going to call on Deborah Carr. Deborah, one last question between 1 and 87.
3.
All right, here you go. If you were a wrestler, what would be your entrance theme song?
Man, you know, raised in a family of 4 girls, 22 girls in the 5-block radius with 3 guys. We had a strong-willed, strong-bodied women. And as my sisters took tap dance and they were cheerleaders, I took judo. And so evidently I just wanted to throw people around, and I earned my brown belt, but left before I went after my black. But entering out there, because it's such an energy thing, what would I want to do? I don't know. It's different than cheerleading. It's different than even my mother. I was the youngest one. She said, "Do you want to get into ballet?" And I was only like 6 or 5, whatever I was. And I said, "Do you think I want to wear a tutu?" Because already I was tough. with the lace underneath and the tough on the outside. But an entering theme, I don't know, because it certainly wouldn't be Rocky. but it would probably be something Asian because I'm into Asian theory on all levels. I don't know. I just know that I was predetermined to not wear a tutu, even though I sat and watched my sisters in their cheerleading and their performances on stage and everything else. I did wear, but I did take flute lessons. I did do that in band, but I don't have a theme song. I can't think of one. So it would definitely be Asian. That I know for sure. And I'd walk out straight with my white belt and my green belt and my brown belt. Never went after the black. Back to you.
We are definitely getting to know more about each one of you that have been in this table topics. I do want to mention my mother, who's deceased, when she was older, her brother was the coach for wrestling in high school, and she stood in for him when he had to go somewhere and taught the guys that day. So anyway, that was pretty cool. Thank you all. All right, so if we can get our timer to do a quick timer report and let us know if everyone qualified so we can vote.
Everybody qualified.
Okay, there we go. And the times are in the chat. Thank you for being so thorough. We appreciate that. So if all
send your votes to me.
Send your votes to Deborah Carr. There you go. Make sure you vote. Your vote counts. And now it's back to Andre.
Thank you very much, Christine. What amazing table topics. Really enjoyed it.
It was fun.
And now just one thing for me to say. I would love to pass this virtual stage on to our general evaluator, Johnny Laidlaw. Please take it away.
Thank you, our Toastmaster of the evening, doing such an effective job taking us through without apprehension. First, I would like the times. I know they were probably placed in the chat already for our speakers, but I would like our initial timers report.
For the speakers, Antoinette, 6.22 minutes, and David, 7.36, 7 minutes, 36 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Timer. You have been big during the course of this meeting. I would like to call our first evaluator, Rick Derling, who evaluated Toastmaster Antoinette Trim.
Good evening, fellow online presenters, and especially you, Antoinette. Definitely a speech that I enjoyed listening to, and I have a number of things I want to share with you that I think you did very, very well. First up, using personal examples in any speech is always a powerful tool, and you did that this evening extremely well. Another thing that you did very well was your pace. It was appropriate. I like that pace. And in fact, while the human brain can process at a huge rate, I found that speakers that take the time to be careful in how they pace their words really, really make a difference in the way that they speak. You also had a really good structure. I love having a question worked into it to get the people's attention. That's a really strong technique. There are other things that you did well as well, but I'm going to move on to a couple of things I want to offer to you. First up, let's talk about the question for a moment. One of the things that is really a good technique that you may want to consider trying is when you do ask a question, like who here who's ever been in a speech or heard a speech where someone asked a question? Give that pause after any question so that the audience can have a moment to consider it. That is an important part of doing that. Another thing that I want you to consider is using the camera involves really looking at it. Now, you did some really great techniques, including leading into it. But one thing I saw was frequently looking away. And that's an okay technique, but watch out for how frequently. It may be you were referring to notes, I'm not sure, but watch out for eye contact, because you really want to spend most of your time in a virtual situation looking at the camera, because that's how you keep the audience's attention. Now, I have two things that I want to offer to you for a challenge. The first one has to do with being ready to offer up a visual, perhaps as your background, of any acronym that you use. You did a great job of describing the acronym, but I think it might have helped your speech a little bit to have the acronym hovering off to one side, perhaps as part of your background, or there's lots of other techniques. And that's why I'm offering this as a challenge. It's something to mess around with from a technical challenge standpoint. Now, another thing you asked me to talk about briefly is your word choice. And I feel you did great in that space as well. But something for you to consider is using what I refer to as powerful words. A powerful word to me is any word that you use that evokes emotion in your audience. Consider heartwarming, horrible, awful, excellent. All of those almost certainly generated some kind of emotional response from the audience. So as you're considering moving forward with your speeches, you're using a lot of power words, spend a little bit of time on the internet and research more words that you can use, because there is a plethora of them, not the least of which is being anxious about giving a speech. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rick. Next, we will have our resident Facebook online joke master, Jim Barber, evaluating David Carr.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, our future Toastmaster member, Evie, and of course, especially Toastmaster David F. Carr. Dave, you are such an accomplished speaker that I'll admit I'm apprehensive. I was apprehensive when I volunteered to evaluate you because I really didn't know that I would be able to come up with any suggestions. We're aware of it here, but for those people that might be catching it on the recording, you weren't prepared to give this as a prepared speech tonight. We needed another speaker, and where most of the people hid their heads and ran for the hills when we put out a call for speakers, you stepped right up and said, sure, I'll be glad to do it. So on just a few moments' notice, you stepped up and you gave a presentation right there. That's commendable. But the thing is, you did a very good presentation. So that is absolutely remarkable. You were concise, you were direct, you presented it very well. You described the birth of the social network Mastodon, which I personally had not heard of. And so I was hanging on every word that you said. You explained things well, you generated interest, you kept our interest throughout. It was just a very well done presentation. I have one suggestion for you, and I want to stress this is not for the presentation that you did tonight, because the presentation that you did tonight was impressive, and basically you couldn't have done any better. I couldn't have done any better than what you did tonight. This was great. This is in general for people that are speaking. Let's see if I can pull this up now. You were, and this is what I was supposed to be doing. Okay, when we went to you and you started talking, this was what we saw. You gave us a screenshot and you saw the presentation. You were talking about Mastodon. And of course, you are up there at the very top, the little tiny little part up at the very beginning of the top of the screen. And what I would really have liked to have seen would have been something like this, where we could actually see you as being the star of the presentation, as being a part of the presentation. But again, that's If you had had sufficient time to prepare for the presentation, you did not. This was great tonight. It was wonderful. And I just I look forward to being as accomplished a speaker as you are, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jim Barber. I'm apprehensive to ask what the F means, but I will control myself today. Next, I will call our final evaluator. No, it says a Toastmasters wears many hats, but I believe I have many hairstyles because I don't own any hats. And I will be evaluating our Toastmaster of the evening. Now, first and foremost, I want everybody to applaud the effective job. Can we open and give a resounding round of applause for our Toastmaster of the evening? Woo! It is never easy to take on this role on a normal theme. Add to that, having to incorporate humor, is really easy for us to fall on. However, I appreciate the hard work that you put in to set the theme. You went on Facebook, you dug up all the information that would tickle our funny bones and have us relate to the theme and found a way to tie it into our everyday existence. I always love when you use Prezi, by the way. It is always, oh, that's so nice. Look at that graphic while still allowing me to see you. You kept us engaged during the course of the entire meeting. Most people don't realize that the Toastmaster of the evening is a resident cheerleader. You're the one who, if nobody else's camera is on for this meeting, you have to be there. And I could see your dedication. Not only was your camera on, I could see you paying attention. And believe me, I know a lot of times it's easy to drift off and have something else to do. But I saw your focus. I saw your engagement. What would I suggest to make your overall presentation better? Your framing. I could see when you do this and you're thinking, but most of the time, your gestures are here. So while I see your hand, it makes it hard for me to get, well, the overall view of you. What's the rest of your hands doing? Are they sitting comfortably? Are you freaking out? I wouldn't be able to know because of how you're framed. And I know that sometimes it just takes a little bit of moving back ever so slightly to give us the opportunity to enter your entire world of gestures. I would also suggest not commenting on the speeches. Why? Toastmasters evaluation is about, well, whenever you say it was an excellent speech, for you, it may have been an excellent speech. And I know that it was a part of your encouragement. The evaluator, however, might not agree, and you put them in a bit of a sticky situation. How about, since you were leading from the front and being chief cheerleader, applauding, encouraging us to applaud, utilizing emojis so that we can follow your lead and do what you do, because you are the one who set the tone for the meeting. You did an excellent job. I like the dedication and all the work that you put in, and I look forward to seeing you using Prezi over and over again in the meeting. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator. Hang on. Okay, there we go. All right, back to being General Evaluator. I like the fact that all of our evaluators utilized the sandwich technique today, which was commend, recommend, and commend. Now I'm going to move on to the rest of the team, which would be our grammarian, our counter, our timer to offer the evaluators information, our chat monitor. I'm going to ask that you do it in a relay format, meaning from one to the next. And keep in mind, we have 1 minute. So we will start with our grammarian.
Thank you, General Evaluator Joni. Okay, as far as the word of the day goes, the winner, drum roll please, is Joni Laidlaw. She said it twice. Christine said it once. Jim Barber said it once. And congratulations, Joni. Now, some of the colorful uses of the English language that I really enjoyed. Lou, text master, not chat monitor. Very cool. Andre, David was upgraded from the tip of the day to the speaker. Kind of like the way you use that. And Antoinette, I just loved that you picked your middle name, Diane, to do your DIAS for your speech on the communication types. I also liked, this is more not grammarian, but visual grammarian. I like when you answered the phone and put on your analytical hat. Very nicely done. Isabel, whenever I bite an onion, I feel like I'm going to scream in my mouth. That is just super adorable. So I'll just give you the adorable award. Jim, as a Douglas Adams fan, have to go with 42. Very nice way to choose your number. And watching me dance is funny. Just like the use of humor in that. Deborah, regarding martial arts. Evidently, I just wanted to throw people around. Love that. And lace underneath and tough on the outside. Predetermined not to wear a tutu. Very funny. Rick, using powerful words, words that invoke emotion. Plethora of words to use, and that you were anxious to give a speech, or mentioned anxious to give a speech. Jim Barber, apprehensive when I volunteered. Great use of the word of the day. And Joni Tickler Funny Bones, and that's it. Back to you, Joni, General Evaluator.
Thank you, our grammarian. Next to the person who was watching us. How did we do?
Oh, Madam General Evaluator, we did terrific. I love being watcher at online presenters because it's such an easy job. Everybody was well lit. They were balanced in the visual frame. They used a good 50% of the visual frame. That was great. They were attentive. It's discouraging sometimes, even if it isn't being recorded, when people start doing this during the meeting because they're obviously not paying attention. And that didn't happen tonight. Everybody was right here, was staying right with us. They were paying attention. They were involved. Everybody stayed on camera for the most part. We were here. We were present. And it communicates into a good visual presence, and that translates into a great meeting. That's it, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, our watcher. Counter, how did we do as it relates to us today?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. We did very well. I always have a comprehension at the beginning of the meeting because this is such an advanced group. It's hard to hear any filler words. Well, here's my report. Our members really don't have much filler words at all. I barely caught something. I believe I heard Andre said once, and David Carr, I heard you said once, and perhaps there is filler words and. And Deborah, I heard you said, you know. Other than that, it was all so clean. It was everybody is very skilled with using silence and with that pace. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you to our ever watchful and effective counter. Now I'm going to need this replayed, but was it Chatty Cathy and Chatty Ken? Did I get that right? Were the Cathys and Kens behaving ourselves today? Distinguished Toastmaster Lou Brown.
Yes, Chatty Cathy's, Chatty Kens. We had a lot of chat activity in the text box. 98% of it were dad jokes, puns, blonde jokes, right in line with the theme. Thank you, everyone, for that. David put the link to the Mastodon getting started tutorial, as well as the link to join. I did have a bit of apprehension about mentioning this last one. I didn't really want to call attention to it, but since he put it in the chat, why not? Rick gave up dieting. Back to you.
Thank you, our chat monitor for also monitoring. Now I'm going to give you the chance to say what you believe it should be called again, so that next time I have a mental note of it. It should be our
Text master.
text master. Love it. Next to the virtual space, we have our vote counter. Did we vote? Was it effective? And who won?
Well, thank you. Thank you. As it is, we were a little soft on voting tonight. However, I do have totals. And for Antoinette was within timing, so she has the, she took first place on speech. It's kind of embarrassing because I seriously did count all the votes, but I won on table topics, which is kind of weird, but thank you. And for the evaluator of the speeches is Rick Derling. That's it. Back to you.
Wonderful. I was really surprised when you said that Antoinette won. I was not expecting that moment. Great meeting, everyone. I enjoyed the fact that we started on time. I like the fact that our Toastmaster of the evening, regardless of it being a project, came in early to make sure that all of the roles were filled and effectively assigned. I love the fact that Online Presenters has a way of juggling. Must be all those distinguished Toastmasters that distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Byrne mentioned before. I like the can-do attitude that we have here at Online Presenters, where people jump in to offer their services and make it look so seamless, as if they had this planned all the time. Our evaluators were effective in their use of the sandwich technique. All of our functionaries were on point as it related to utilizing their role. What would I suggest? Remember, it's Toastmasters. We're giving a speech. So even when we're doing something as simple as counting maybe R's or being a grammarian, it helps to sharpen our skill if we try to put it in a speech format and utilize the sandwich technique. Other than that, we had a fabulous meeting. Love being the general evaluator here at Online Presenters. And I now return control to our most effective Toastmaster of the evening to see if there will be more laughter and humor. Back to you, Toastmaster Andrea.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Johnny. I enjoyed this meeting. Something I would love us all to do is save this chat box. If you pay attention to the amounts of humor, jokes, on a really high and not very high level, is all there. So please save it so we can enjoy it for a quite long time. And I'm happy I was here. Back to our club presidents, Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, Andre. You did a wonderful job. It's always wonderful to see people growing in the management of an online meeting and getting credit for it. Thanks for making sure that was set up for yourself. What I would like to do is call at this moment, if Evie is still here. I know this is the second time that she's visited, but she's thinking of joining us now. And I want to hear from her about her experience, what she really enjoyed about the meeting. Evie, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here. I definitely enjoyed this meeting last time, and I enjoy the kind of the ambiance, the fact that everyone is so participatory with their, like, I see all of these emojis in everyone's backgrounds. I think that's just wonderful. And I particularly like that you focus on online presenting, because it's something that I definitely I of course, like many of us, and like probably every single one of you, I'm always doing online meetings and making some content here and there. And yeah, I want to be around people who care about that. I want to build my speaking skills in an environment where people care about that. And so I definitely look forward to joining this club. I'm 100% confirmed I'm joining. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to next week and the weeks after.
Wonderful. We're glad that you're here. And to other members, feel free to invite your friends. And if you want to provide a unique holiday gift for them, give them a membership to a Toastmasters club near them or to our club. You could always use additional people to inspire us and to grow the club. At that point in time is 9 o'clock. I would like to encourage, since David is still here, I believe, encourage someone to come forward to serve as the Toastmaster Day. I believe next week is a speakathon. Is that correct?
It is, if we get enough people to make it a real speakathon, but
Oh.
of the